But right now, as I was saying, we're in the middle of a situation where people that don't often find themselves faced with indictment and possible prison time are there right now because we've had 50 people right now indicted
That's right.
by the federal government for scamming universities, bribery, money laundering, an assortment of crimes. And I think some of them are really in denial. And when you first got charged, you think that you were in the same situation, that you were in denial at the same time, correct?
When I learned that I was in trouble, I said, this is not a big deal. They're going to see that I didn't have bad intent, that I was clearly swept into this, and they're going to see that I'm a student athlete from USC and I had hundreds of clients who loved me and I never had a problem before. So as a result of that flawed thinking and spinning lies to lawyers, then later lying to the FBI because I did not want them to perceive me as a criminal, I had lied and made matters measurably worse. So denial took years off of my life and led to a longer prison sentence.
I want to break that down a little bit. So you got charged, and at the time, had you admitted to yourself that you had done wrong, or were you deluding yourself?
I was deluding myself. In fact, I've trained new agents at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and when the FBI agent that arrested me introduced me to the agents, he said, before I spoke, had Justin been honest with us when we interviewed him, we would not have pursued prosecution. Think about how different my life is as a result of my unwillingness to accept responsibility in front of two FBI agents because of shame, denial, living like the ostrich with my head buried. So yes, my life is forever changed because I couldn't step up and say, I made some bad decisions and I regret them.
So he said if you had been honest, they wouldn't have prosecuted you?
Think about that. I talk a lot about post-defense conduct in this Varsity Blues college cheating case. We've got to pay attention to post-defense conduct, what defendants are doing between indictment and a potential trial or sentencing hearing. It is a big deal, the record they need to begin to create as a law-abiding citizen because the government is judging them for some bad decisions they made. They've got to work to change that narrative. I did that terribly as a defendant. They have an opportunity to do better.
But at the time you were sitting in front of the FBI agent, you weren't just lying to him, you were lying to yourself.
And to my lawyers, flushing money down the toilet. I was a lawyer's dream client potentially.
You said you spent 50 grand.
50 grand just to get in the door and sign a retainer for a white-collar defense attorney. I blew through 50 grand.
Lying.
Lying immediately. I didn't want to own and acknowledge my criminal conduct. As I wrote in Lessons from Prison, I needed someone like me to drop a bucket of cold ice on my head and maybe throw a right punch and say, get it together, bud. I didn't have that.
You said that you then got a criminal lawyer.
I did.
You were talking about taking a polygraph, and this lawyer said, look, do not lie. You cannot beat this polygraph. Do not kid yourself. Do not go in there and try to lie. And you studied countermeasures.
Not only, before I studied countermeasures, I told my lawyer, I said, I'm insulted. I'm innocent. I've done nothing wrong. I'm being swept into this. I'm insulted that you actually would suggest that I would cheat this exam. This is how little you think of me as a client of yours. She said, Justin, please, you're very smart, but you can make some dumb decisions. Do not cheat the exam. So, of course, once I left his office.
You then went to the internet, started downloading.
I still have the receipt, Dr. Phil. $350. I bought a lie detector test, and I studied very aggressively for several days, studying to beat that exam and mastering all of the techniques.
All the countermeasures, everything from attacking the shoe to tightening your muscles and
the tush,
everything. And you got in there and failed miserably.
The lie detector test is presided by a former FBI agent. I did it at the office in San Francisco. And I sat for the test, and I squeezed my innards when appropriate, pinched the toe when I was supposed to, and I thought, I have this. Like, I'll be back on the golf course in 2 days. This is great. Then the results came back, and my lawyer asked the FBI agent to leave, and then they said with greater than 99.99% I had failed the exam. And I remember looking out into Alcatraz from the San Francisco office thinking, this is not good.
You said, and I quote from your book, your lawyer said, Justin, you're going to prison. It's time to wrap your mind around that reality. You're on incredibly weak ground here. The government prosecutors are prepared to charge you with numerous felonies, including now obstruction of justice.
Yes.
Did it hit you then?
Embarrassingly, no. What I did do was say, do whatever you have to do to ensure I get the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
Whatever I have to say to try to avoid a lengthy prison term, because my lawyers told me that you're going to get 5 years in prison without question. I remember saying, how could I get 5 or 6 or 7 years? I was swept into this. I didn't understand that whether you had intent or not, how you respond to trouble plays a significant role in your outcome.